She didn't say anything. No argument, no accusation, no long paragraph of emotions, just silence. A pause in the conversation, a slightly delayed text, a colder tone than usual, and yet, somehow, you felt it. Something shifted. This is the silent game. It's not manipulation, it's not always conscious. It's how women sense, measure, and feel out a man without ever saying a word. You see, women don't just listen to what you say, they feel who you are. They pick up on energy, tone, consistency, the tiny details most men overlook. A woman's intuition isn't mystical, it's psychological. From evolution to emotional intelligence, women are wired to read subtle cues for safety, honesty, and strength. When she pulls back a little after an intense moment, when she takes a few hours longer to reply, when she suddenly seems distant for no clear reason, that's not random, that's observation. She's not just watching your words, she's watching your reaction. Will you chase? Will you panic? Will you turn cold, angry, or insecure? Or will you stay calm, grounded, centered? Because that's the real test. Every man knows this feeling. The moment when something feels off, you text her, and the energy feels colder. You ask what's wrong, and she says nothing, but you know something's there. Here's the truth. It's not about the words, it's about the vibe. She's not testing your knowledge, she's testing your energy. How do you handle uncertainty? How do you act when things aren't perfectly clear? Because those quiet moments tell her everything she needs to know. Women often communicate on frequencies men aren't taught to notice. It's emotional intelligence in motion, a quiet, invisible language. And in that language, stillness speaks louder than speech. When a man becomes reactive, frustrated, defensive, or needy, she doesn't need to argue, she already has her answer. But when he remains composed, kind, and confident, when his energy stays stable even in silence, she feels safe. That's the paradox of the silent game. It's not about passing her test, it's about showing her peace. So the next time the energy shifts, don't rush to fix it, don't chase, don't over-explain. Don't panic, just breathe, because sometimes silence isn't rejection, it's reflection. She's not looking for perfection, she's feeling for presence. And when a man can hold that calm energy without losing himself to confusion or fear, that's when she stops testing and starts trusting. Most men think women test them to play games, to manipulate, to control. But that's not true, at least not most of the time. What looks like testing is often just protection. It's psychology, not strategy. It's instinct, not manipulation. You see, from childhood, most women are conditioned to measure safety emotionally, not physically. They don't test your strength with punches. They test your consistency with presence, your reliability with patience, your emotional stability with silence. Because for women, safety isn't about muscles, it's about energy. When a woman pushes a little, questions something small, withdraws for no clear reason, or even starts an unnecessary argument, she's not always trying to start drama. She's observing, she's asking, without words, can I trust this man's stability when things get uncertain? Because emotional safety is everything, and testing is how she feels it. The truth is, women's emotional intelligence evolved for survival. Thousands of years ago, a woman's ability to read subtle shifts in tone, expression, or attention meant the difference between protection and danger. It's hardwired into her biology to feel, not just see. That's why she notices when your voice tightens slightly during an argument, when your eyes wander for half a second while she's talking, or when your energy changes after she says something uncomfortable. These are not petty observations, they're safety scans. Her subconscious is asking, will he stay present when things get hard? Testing, at its core, isn't about making you fail. It's about finding where she's safe. She might pull back emotionally to see if you stay patient. She might question your attention to see if you're genuine. She might even create small conflicts just to see how you handle pressure. And while it feels like chaos to you, to her it's clarity. She's learning what kind of man you are under tension, because anyone can be kind when things are easy. But emotional safety requires seeing who you are when things aren't. And here's the key. If you understand that her tests aren't attacks, you stop reacting defensively. You start leading with calm instead of ego. When a man understands that her test is a reflection of her fear, not her manipulation, he stops taking it personally, and that's when everything changes. Instead of reacting, he observes. Instead of arguing, he grounds himself. Instead of matching her chaos, he becomes her calm. That's the difference between men who fail and men who rise. Those who fail think she's the enemy. Those who rise understand she's just checking for safety. So the next time she withdraws, questions, or stirs a little tension, don't rush to fix it. Don't get angry, don't prove yourself. Just hold your frame, listen, breathe, because behind every test is a quiet question. Are you safe? And when she feels that answer through your energy, not your words, that's when she finally stops testing. She won't tell you she's testing you, but she is. Quietly, subtly, instinctively. Her tests don't come through words. They come through silence, distance, tone, timing, and the way she observes how you move when she stops moving. Let's start with one of the most powerful silent tests. The silence after a disagreement. You've probably felt it before. That moment after an argument when she stops replying, stops explaining, stops reacting, and just goes quiet. You think she's mad or punishing you, but in reality she's observing that silence is her emotional radar. She's not testing what you say next. She's testing the energy you bring next. She wants to see if you'll chase her with panic, ignore her out of pride, or stay calm and grounded. Her silence isn't rejection, it's data collection. It's her way of asking, can you handle conflict without losing control? Then there's the pullback after intimacy, and this one confuses a lot of men. Everything feels perfect. Connection, closeness, laughter, warmth. And then suddenly, she's distant, quieter, less responsive. You think something went wrong, but what's actually happening is her emotional system is checking for safety. After deep connection, many women subconsciously retreat to see if that intimacy was real or just momentary. She's testing your consistency. Will you still show up when the high fades? If you respond with insecurity or neediness, she senses instability. But if you stay patient, calm, and present, she relaxes because consistency feels like safety. Another subtle test, sharing a personal story, not a random one, but something vulnerable, about her past, her fears, her family. The moment she opens that door, she's not just sharing, she's watching. Your reaction in that moment tells her everything. Do you listen with empathy, or do you judge, dismiss, change the subject? Her subconscious is asking, is this man emotionally safe to be real with? Because a woman's deepest connection isn't built on attraction. It's built on emotional trust. One wrong reaction, and she closes back up. Not because she's dramatic, but because vulnerability without safety feels like danger. Then there's the indifference test, one of the hardest to recognize. She'll act unbothered. Maybe she stops initiating, doesn't text first, doesn't show excitement when you do, and you start to wonder if she's losing interest. But what she's really testing is your consistency. When her energy drops, she's asking, is his effort dependent on my validation? Because real strength doesn't chase approval. It remains steady, even when attention fades. When you keep your same calm tone, same patience, same effort, she feels your stability. That's when she knows you're not acting from ego. These tests aren't games, they're signals. Women test without words because words can be faked, energy can't. She's not looking for perfection, she's looking for emotional truth. Can you stay calm when she's distant, kind when she's cold, present when she's silent? Those are the tests you don't see, the ones that define whether she feels safe to stay or needs to pull away, and the man who passes them doesn't pass through performance. He passes through presence. She's not watching what you say, she's watching how you are when things stop going your way. Because deep down, every woman measures a man's energy not by his muscles, money, or charm, but by his emotional regulation. When she looks at you, she's subconsciously scanning 1,000 microsignals. Your tone, your eye contact, your breathing, your stillness. She's asking questions without saying a word. Can this man handle pressure? Can he stay grounded when emotions rise? Can he protect peace, even when provoked? That's the hidden metric, the one most men never realize they're being graded on. See, women are emotional readers. They can sense instability the way animals sense fear. If your tone shifts too quickly, if your eyes dart, if your reactions spike from calm to defensive, she feels that as emotional volatility. And volatility feels unsafe, not dangerous but unpredictable, and unpredictability kills attraction faster than anything else. Because here's the truth, reaction reveals everything. Your reaction is your revelation. When she withdraws, do you panic? When she challenges you, do you argue? When she's emotional, do you match her chaos or hold your ground in calm? In those tiny moments, as those micro tests, she's not trying to control you. She's observing your capacity. She wants to know if your emotions lead you or if you lead them. That's what masculine energy truly is. Not dominance, not arrogance, but emotional steadiness. It's leadership of self, the ability to stay centered when everything else shakes. The man who can breathe through tension instead of breaking under it. The one who listens without needing to win, who looks her in the eye and says more with silence than others do with shouting. Confidence isn't loud, it's composed. It's the quiet certainty that no matter what storm she brings, you won't lose yourself inside it. Because here's the secret, women will never say out loud. When they get emotional, they're not testing your strength against theirs, they're testing whether your strength can hold both. That's why the calm man becomes magnetic. His energy doesn't rise to match the chaos, it grounds it. His tone stays level, his eyes stay steady, his body language says, "I'm not here to fight you, I'm here to understand you." That composure tells her she's safe, and safety, in her world, equals attraction. So when she measures you, she's not measuring dominance. She's measuring discipline. She's not looking for control. She's looking for consistency. The man who knows how to stay calm under emotional pressure doesn't just earn her respect. He earns her trust. And trust is the soil where attraction grows. Because in the end, real masculine energy isn't about overpowering her emotions. It's about standing tall enough that her emotions don't overpower you. Most men fail the test not because they're weak, but because they react. When tension rises, when a woman pulls back, when she goes silent or questions his words, most men feel cornered. Their instinct kicks in. Prove yourself, defend yourself, fix it now. But that's the trap, because every time you react with anger, ego, or defensiveness, you're not showing strength, you're revealing insecurity. Let's break it down. Imagine this. She suddenly gets quiet after a small disagreement. You can feel something's off, but she doesn't explain. Most men would say, "What's wrong now?" Or, "Why are you acting like this?" Their tone tightens, their chest rises, their ego takes the wheel. What she feels in that moment isn't your strength. It's your lack of emotional control. Because here's the truth. The moment you get reactive, you lose influence. You might think you're asserting power, but to her it reads as fear. Fear of losing control, fear of not being understood, fear of not being enough. And fear doesn't attract, it repels. Women aren't drawn to emotional chaos. They're drawn to emotional certainty. When she tests you with silence, she's not always punishing you. She's watching your balance. Do you need her validation to stay calm? Or can you stay grounded even when she pulls away? That's the hidden game most men never see. A man who reacts is a man who reveals his center is fragile. But a man who stays calm, who breathes before speaking, who doesn't chase or lash out, he instantly shifts the dynamic. His energy says, "I'm steady even when things aren't." And that changes everything. Let's go back to that moment, the silence after the disagreement. Instead of pushing for answers or matching her mood, imagine this. He notices her pulling back. He pauses, takes a breath, and simply says, "It's okay, I'll give you space. We can talk when you're ready." That one calm response does something powerful. It communicates emotional maturity, security, and patience, the three qualities every woman instinctively trusts. Her nervous system relaxes, her guard lowers, and her respect rises. Not because he won, but because he didn't need to. That's real masculine energy, not reaction, but regulation. Overreaction comes from a wounded ego. Calm composure comes from a healed one, and the difference between the two defines how every relationship plays out. The men who understand this stop chasing emotional control lest they become it. They realize silence doesn't need to be filled, and tests don't need to be fought. They learn that restraint is not weakness, it's mastery. So the next time you feel that spark of frustration, that urge to prove a point, remember, your reaction is your mirror. The more you need to react, the less power you actually have. True power doesn't shout, doesn't chase, doesn't argue. It simply remains. The real test isn't about winning an argument or proving a point. It's about holding frame. Now, most men misunderstand that phrase. They think holding frame means being dominant, being in control, or never bending, but that's not it. True frame isn't about control, it's about center. It's the emotional ground you stand on when everything around you starts to shake. When a woman tests you, when emotions rise, when uncertainty enters the room, the question isn't can you control her, it's can you control yourself? Because calm isn't weakness, it's leadership. The calm man doesn't silence emotion, he steadies it. He doesn't fight energy, he absorbs it, processes it, and responds from clarity, not chaos. Let's make this simple. Imagine she's upset, her voice is sharp, her emotions are loud. Most men either shut down or fight back, but the man who holds frame doesn't do either. He listens, he breathes, he doesn't let her storm pull him under, and when he speaks, his tone is low, grounded, sure. He's not trying to win, he's creating safety. Because safety isn't built through dominance, it's built through stability. A woman doesn't need a man who handles her, she needs a man who stays solid when emotion takes over. Someone whose peace can't be shaken by temporary storms, that's the real test. And here's where balance matters. Holding frame doesn't mean becoming cold or distant. It's not about building walls, it's about knowing where empathy ends and boundaries begin. You can be understanding without being walked over. You can care without collapsing. You can love deeply and still say, this is where my peace lives, and I won't trade it. That's emotional power. The ability to stay soft in heart but firm in energy. When a man holds frame, he gives her something rare, trust in his steadiness. Because if she can't shake your peace, she can finally relax into it. That's what every woman secretly craves. Not perfection, but presence. So, the next time emotion rises and your instinct is to match the chaos, remember this. Holding frame isn't about control, it's about containment. You don't win by forcing peace. You create it by being peace. Trust doesn't appear out of nowhere. It's earned through consistency. In the beginning, every woman tests, not to manipulate, but to measure. She's learning your emotional language, reading how you handle pressure, watching what your calm feels like. But when you stay consistent, when your energy doesn't rise and fall with every emotional wave, something powerful happens. The tests begin to fade. Because testing is a reaction to uncertainty. It's the mind's way of asking, can I relax here? Can I trust him? And when your composure becomes predictable, when your calm becomes her constant, she finally gets her answer. That's the shift, the silent moment when testing turns into trust. You'll notice it in small ways first, the arguments that end quicker, the pauses that feel safe instead of tense, the eye contact that lingers a little longer. She doesn't need to question your tone anymore or test your patience because she knows what she'll find. Steadiness. See, emotional safety isn't built through words, it's built through repetition. Every time you stay grounded instead of reactive, every time you choose listening over defending, every time you lead with presence instead of pride, you teach her nervous system something new. This is different. I'm safe here. And once that happens, everything changes. The relationship stops being a battlefield and becomes a partnership. The quiet tests turn into quiet trust. The emotional walls start to lower. She starts to meet your calm with her own. That's the beauty of emotional maturity. It replaces testing with transparency. When she no longer feels the need to test your strength, she starts to trust your softness. And that's when love becomes effortless, when both people stop performing and start being. Because real connection doesn't require constant proof. It only needs consistent peace. Here's the truth most men never realize. It was never about passing her test, because those tests were never about power. They were about peace. When a woman tests you, she's not asking, can you obey? She's asking, can I trust you with my softness? She wants to know if your presence is real when her emotions aren't pretty, if your calm stays grounded when her heart feels uncertain, if your energy leads, not through control but through clarity. Every test is really a search for safety. When she goes quiet, when she pulls back, when she challenges you. She's not trying to win, she's trying to feel you, not your words, your essence. She's asking silently, can you hold space for me without losing yourself? And here's where most men fail. They try to perform their way through it. They explain, defend, prove, chase. But true power doesn't perform, it simply is. You don't earn trust by convincing her. You earn it by being consistent enough that she can feel your steadiness without question. Because evolution happens the moment you stop reacting to her test and start living from your truth. That's when your presence becomes leadership, not through dominance, but through depth, not through control, but through calm authority. You realised she was never testing your masculinity, she was revealing it, and when a man no longer reacts to the test, he becomes the answer.